and welcome to FinextraTV's Predict 2022 series. I'm Hannah Wallace, and kindly calling into our virtual studio now is Kalliopi Chioti, Chief ESG Officer at Temenos. So, Kalliopi, thank you very much for calling in.
Thank you, Hannah. Great to be talking to you today.
Really good to have you on. So yes, today we'll be hearing about some of your ESG predictions for 2022 and beyond. And one area we've been focusing on more and more is how banks can achieve greener, more efficient operations. So perhaps you could shed some light on that for us.
Yes, indeed, Hannah. ESG has come to the top of banks' agendas, and every day we see more and more banks that are committing to ESG targets and net zero plans. So banks need to have ESG considerations within their operations and products. So banks have been aiming to digitally transform, and this is driven mainly by financial and compliance pressures, increasing competition and customer demand. And cloud has enabled banks to answer these challenges. But now cloud is also helping banks address other key challenges like the net zero race. So the leading hyperscalers estimate that SaaS and cloud can reduce energy and emissions by over 95% compared to legacy IT infrastructure. And for us, a good example is Flowy, a cloud-enabled digital bank built on pure green principles. Flowy is the first bank in Italy to be certified as a B Corp bank, and is also carbon neutral. So the bank runs on Temenos banking cloud powered by Microsoft Azure. So within the first 6 months of launching in 2020, it onboarded 600,000 customers. And Flowy has been able to generate between 90 to 96% less emissions compared to the on-premise alternative and grow sustainably, passing on benefits to customers for a greener planet and a better society.
Yes, tell me, what can banks do then to appeal to those green consumers, and tell us what are the latest customer trends you're seeing around ESG?
Yes, consumers and especially younger generations are not bystanders to the climate debate. They want sustainable and ethical banking choices. They're more inclined to judge a bank based on their ESG record and commitment to sustainable banking. So today, the green credentials of a bank matter just as much as their financial services. So large banks are very well aware of these customer demands, and this is quickly penetrating to banking culture. So they're moving away from simple net zero statements and green deposits. So banks are now developing financial services that empower customers to take control of their own carbon footprint. With cloud banking, banks can give individuals insights and build applications that help customers to measure and manage their carbon footprint of their spending, reward them for their contributions towards sustainability, give them options to offset or even reduce carbon from credit card payments, make it easier for them to invest in sustainable funds, or even simple things like switch to less carbon intensive energy providers at home. So, for example, with Temenos Open Platform for Composable Banking, banks can extend their services by integrating third-party applications like the carbon footprint solution providers on Temenos Exchange to help their customers track their carbon footprint.
That's really good. And with that comes the empowerment of the consumer as well. So as you say, as banks move to a net zero plan then, what do you think are the implications for the industry as a whole and beyond?
Oh, yes. First, banks need to measure, as we mentioned, the direct impact of their own operations and have net zero plans in place. So SaaS and cloud technologies can help banks reduce energy and emissions by more than 90% compared to the on-premise systems and improve their carbon footprint so that they can reach their ESG targets. But banks also need to measure the indirect impact of their own operations or the emissions they finance, which is a little bit more challenging. So using AI in asset and wealth management as the basis for impact investing, allows banks to measure the non-financial impact of their portfolios and choose the options that fit best with their investment strategy and values. Because banks are in a unique position to influence the transition to a low carbon economy by offering greener investment opportunities, such as green loans, green bonds, or other sustainability linked instruments. So As we can see, overall, the banking industry is currently affected by these new climate-related regulations globally, stressing the need for transparency, ESG targets, and reporting. So the pressure is pushed down to the IT suppliers of the banks, just like Temenos. So banks are looking for suppliers who have incorporated ESG into their value chain to avoid the greenwashing risk. So, for example, they look for high ESG ratings, TCFD reporting, and science-based targets, as well as the right product offering and know-how to help banks transition into a low-carbon economy.
So watch this space, some really positive developments there, Kalliopi. And thank you so much for sharing your insights. It's been really interesting and looking forward to catching up further down the line and reflecting on some of those predictions. But for now, we'll leave it there. Thank you very, very much and speak soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you for having us today.